Good morning, and we are live. I am excited to be here with you today. We got a lot of good news today, a lot of very good news today. So let's just jump right into it. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're as happy as I am. I hope you're having a good day. I really do. We've got a couple good things to talk about. I want to start with the good news first. Tuesday was election day, and good Lord, we Democrats cleaned house. Cleaned house. This is the new mayor of Waukesha, Wisconsin. This is Alicia Helvensleben. Say that fast 3 times. Alicia Helvensleben, Alicia Helvensleben, Alicia Helvensleben. That is a hard one to do, man. That is a hard one to do. She just flipped the Waukesha mayor's office from red to blue. It's been Republican for damn near 2 decades now. Yeah. Nobody predicted that one. To be quite honest with you, everybody knew she had an uphill fight. She ran an outstanding campaign on cost of living, on focusing on, kitchen table issues and the people. Not only was it a big night in Wisconsin for Waukesha and the people of Waukesha, because they defeated 3 Moms for Liberty candidates that were running for school board members. They were also swept off the board. No wins for that insane Moms for Liberty wackadoodle right-wing radical group. They were all denied. But on top of that, this happened. This is going to have long-term effects. Chris Taylor just flipped a Wisconsin Supreme Court seat from red to blue. Yeah, that means they will hold a liberal majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court for at least the rest of this decade. Likely longer. When you have a swing like this, people tend to like what happens. Now, you're going to get the Republicans. Don't get me wrong. The Republicans didn't vanish off the face of the earth last night. They didn't. They're still going to be around, and they're still going to do awful things. They're going to try to impeach, justices off the Supreme Court and things like that. Their dirty tricks aren't over with. Their nastiness isn't over with. But we are in firm control of Wisconsin now. Wisconsin is solidly blue now. This is huge going forward for presidential politics. I mean, this is one of those states. Another state that is moving that direction, Ohio. The momentum is at our back. Ohio used to be a solidly blue state. As Ohio goes, the presidential, you've heard this before. Ohio had, used to be solidly blue, then it went red, and then it is swinging back the other direction. This was a good night. The one loss that we had, it was a bit of a heartbreaker. I'm not going to deny it. The one loss we had last night was Sean Harris in Georgia. They had a special election for Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. Marjorie Greene, the elevator flatulator. Clay Fuller, the Republican, won that race. But I want you to pay attention to something. He won this race at plus 12. In 2024, that district was plus 30, it was plus 29 and change. It's actually plus 30 once you average it out. Do the math on that, folks. That's an 18-point shift in a red district. And I mean a red district. That's an 18-point shift to Democrats. Folks, Donald Trump, if you can see right here, actually, again, this is one where I don't know why they averaged down here. The margin of victory for Trump was actually averages out to 38 points. They say 37 here at the New York Times. It was actually 38 points in 2024. That's how red this district is. It was we're talking almost a 40-point district for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. You've got to be happy about those numbers, because if that's what's happening in these deep red rural, southern districts, you're seeing a shift, of 18 points to the left. Imagine what's going on in those barely pink, barely blue districts all around, again, go back to Ohio. Yeah, folks, the midterms are looking really freaking good. They are. If we just don't, pardon my language, if we don't just fuck this up between here and now with the purist, with the, with the all the nonsense, as long as we just stay focused on turnout, stay focused on the kitchen table issues, because I will tell you, it's a good thing that the Iran war is over. It is. And we talked about this before. We talked about the fact that there were no good options at this point, and what needed to happen was Donald Trump needed to take the L and get the hell out and let the grown-ups in the room to straighten this out. Amen. Amen. That happened. Iran got their fever dream last night. They did. And there was a couple comments that I want to address, and then there was one that just slipped by. Here you go. Why aren't they coming home? Dear, it's been a couple hours since this happened. I mean, a couple hours. Your question doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, the ceasefire hasn't even been I would say the ink's not even dry, but the ink's not even on the paper for the ceasefire. So yeah, of course they're not home. Of course there aren't massive troop withdrawals yet. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be realistic about this. The doomers have been working overtime. Oh no, it's not over. It's not over. No, it's over. Donald Trump did his 2 weeks thing. This is going to be like infrastructure. The infrastructure week that never comes. Oh, in 2 weeks. Or the health plan we're going to see in 2 weeks. This is Donald Trump's 2 weeks thing. Yeah. He's never going to talk about this again. He just isn't. He's gonna crow like a rooster today and claim that he won when he didn't. Operation Epic Fury is Operation Epic Failure. 100%. He tacoed out 100%. He tacoed out. Good. I'm glad he did. But no, the doomers are out there, and the arguments they're making are making no sense. Israel's not going to allow this to happen. That doesn't matter. We're out. We're out. And Benjamin Netanyahu is more than happy to expend American dollars and American lives and but when it's just Israel by himself, no, 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 no. So yeah, and we're going to go through. We're going to go through all the people, all the different facets in this, what they take out of this, where they end up now, what we're looking at going forward. We got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do. But before we get to this, and we break down all the major players, Putin, Xi, Ayatollah Moshaba Khomeini, and Trump, and Benjamin Netanyahu, and where they think they are, where they claim they are, and what's next, let's just cleanse our palate a little bit, shall we? Let's just cleanse our palate. Let's just have a little taste of JD Vance being humiliated by Donald Trump on the world stage. Let's just have a little taste of it. Now, before I play this video, I want to set it up. JD Vance is in Hungary. Viktor Orban may very well lose this Sunday. The elections in Hungary are this Sunday. It is looking like he's going to lose. Nobody has a crystal ball, but it is really looking like he's going to lose. JD Vance is supposed to be there to help him. So he's given this big talk, and this is supposed to be his big pitch to help Viktor Orban. And he's supposed to assure all these people, America's got your back. So they set this gimmick up where JD Vance, impromptu, crowd doesn't know, he is supposed to call Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is supposed to, yeah, we loved Viktor Orban. You're doing great. Yeah. Look what happened.
I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers. So this is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time. I get a good signal here. It's ringing. It's progress. I actually had a
Nope. No Donald Trump for you. Oh my God. The level of disrespect. JD Vance tells you this is Donald Trump's idea, right? I mean, I got a guy that told me to call him and he wanted to talk to you. And then he just left you there, bro. He just left you hanging. Oh my God. JD Vance just keeps taking humiliation after humiliation after humiliation. And oh my God, that it is just hilarious. It is just hilarious. When Donald Trump finally kicks the bucket here, in the next little bit, and it'll be sooner than you think, folks. He is. It'll be sooner than you think. Not as soon as we all hope, but sooner than you think. The JD Vance administration is going to be a joke. It is nobody respects this dweeb. Nobody. But anyways, I just wanted you to have just a little something before we get started and talking about, because there's no good news coming out of this. There is no good news, and this is where I want to. We do a roundtable show here. If you're watching this on replay, this is something I say every show for the new people coming in. One, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Our audience is absolutely full of above average people. These people are informed. These people are professionals. These people are incredibly intelligent people. So if you are watching this on replay, you must open the chat panel. I want to hear from you in the comments which facets of this deal you're more concerned about, and we will discuss those. But as we get started, we will talk about different things. And yes, I do read the super chats. I used to read a lot of the chat, but there's so many now, I just can't read everything. But I do read all the chats. As far as reading them out loud to you, yeah, I tend to stick mostly to the super chats. But yeah, look. I'm sorry. That just cracks me up. Oh my God. JD, man, I have a special guest for you that told me to call him, and he wanted to talk to you. The voicemail of the number you called is full. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's the funny part. Okay. All right. This is one of the this is the one. Did Israel agree? Yes, they agreed. They agreed. But I want to tell you it's irrelevant if they agreed or not. We're out. We're out. Israel will not do this by themselves. They just won't. Israel will attack them, but they will not do a war with Iran without us. So yes, I'm not worried about Israel. I'm not. I am worried about Benjamin Netanyahu because remember, we have the verbal agreement. Now they're going to sit down in Pakistan and they're going to write it all out. And they're going to get the confirmations. We know what's on the table. We know what the framework is for the ceasefire. Now we're talking about the long-term agreement. I thoroughly expect Benjamin Netanyahu to absolutely try to fuck this up. He has to have that boogeyman. He does. He cannot exist without the Iran boogeyman. He can't. And I will tell you right now, Benjamin Netanyahu thinks he's doing okay. He really does. He thinks he came out of this good. He did not. He did not. Well, that's one of the first ones we'll talk about. Since you folks brought it up, we'll address the concerns as you have them. Please keep them coming in the comments. Pretty please. And by the way, again, you folks that are watching this show on replay, you've got to have that chat panel open so you can follow this discussion, because there will be a parallel discussion going on in chat. There will. Let's talk about Bibi. We'll start with Benjamin Netanyahu first on this. Netanyahu thinks he's good. He thinks he used Trump to get what he wanted, and what he wanted was Lebanon. He thinks that he's grabbed a big chunk of land from Lebanon and that he got his objective. He got what he wanted. He's got a new boogeyman, by the way. The Lebanese have now replaced the Palestinians because he's can't go to that well anymore. He can't. Palestine, the Gaza is absolutely decimated. They're absolutely stealing land with impunity in the West Bank. There's nothing left he can do with the Palestinians that he doesn't just look like a fucking psychopath with every single thing he does. So now he's got to have a new one to replace the Palestinians. And that's the Lebanese. The Lebanese and the new Palestinians for Benjamin Netanyahu in his mind. Massive miscalculation on his part. Massive miscalculation on his part. Israel is now a pariah in most of the United States. It is. Flat out. People that were even, people like me that are like, look, there's a left in Israel. There are people that don't support this. There are Jewish people all over the world that don't support any of this. We can't be complete, we can't just broad brush this. Even people like me are like, Israel's fucked. They are. They are. They're just fucked. They traded their future for a sliver of Lebanon because their actions in Lebanon are all that's left now to look at. They had a massive bombing wave last night in Lebanon. That will dominate world news. It will. And it will force people to act. Saudi Arabia, just as a side note, I don't have Saudi Arabia on that. I don't even think they're worth talking about. I really don't. They're just going along for the frickin' ride. They're fucked either way. They are. MBS, what's he going to do? He's going to cuddle up to Israel? Do you know how fast his people will turn on him if he does that? No. Lebanon was a massive miscalculation for Benjamin Netanyahu. It was. And I don't care if you are one of those people that support Israel and think, oh, it was just self-defense bullshit. But you believe that? There's no way to look at this and think, Israel came out of this good. No. Europe is fucking furious at Israel, just like they're mad at us. They know who's responsible for this. Benjamin Netanyahu, any way you slice this, fucked up. And this is the end of Benjamin Netanyahu. You watch. You'll be looking back. It won't be overnight. It will not be overnight. I'm not telling you that shit. You got people that want that instant gratification. They're like, why haven't the troops left? Well, shit, they haven't even written the agreement out. Come on. You'll get those people like, oh, you said this is the end of Benjamin Netanyahu. Why isn't it over? Dude, the show's not over yet. Come on. It will take a little time, but this is it. This is the tripwire that he tripped on that there's no coming back from at all. Because I am telling you, I want to reiterate this. Iran is over. It is. It is over. Trump needs it to be. This is why. Look, Dow futures were up last time I looked, 1,300 points. Let's see what the Dow's doing now that it's open. Yeah, it's up 1,000 points, folks. The Dow is up 1,000 points and cruising. Just as a point of disclosure, to cover my six, I don't want anybody to talk about this. I knew Trump was going to taco. I did. And how much did I know it? I told you people, I left the market. I did. With the housing instability, everything that's going on, I left the market. Yesterday, I bought in. I did. I bought back into the market because I knew this was going to happen. I knew he was going to taco. I knew, yep. I love you folks. Jordan says, oil's going down. Yeah, oil is going down. I'm going to get back. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to get back out of the market pretty damn quickly but I knew this was going to happen with the Dow. It will pop back up and it will creep back up to above 50,000. So yeah, it's but yeah, everybody knew he was going to taco. Everybody knew. I mean, the doomers were out there. He's starting a nuclear war. And I want to talk about that for just a second because we're going to have to, you know what? I'm going to pause on that. I'm not going to talk about that. When we talk about Iran and what this looks like for the future of Iran, we're going to talk about the whole nuclear thing. And I'll talk about it then. I will talk about it then. But yeah, have I talked about the Israel thing enough that we're cool with that? We pretty much will, you know. S&P. I don't buy individual stocks. I don't do that. I bought it into an S&P fund. Specifically, if you want to know, it was a Vanguard fund. And no, the S&P is not doing quite as well as the Dow this morning, but it will. It will. It will. And this is why. This is why. This is happening. You know, y'all talked it, and that's why I say, folks, if you're watching this, you have to be watching the chat. Y'all brought up the oil prices. Yeah, remember we were at $115 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. We are at $95 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. So yeah, now that we're talking about oil, let's talk about the oil aspect of this. Let's talk about the oil aspect of this. Brent is back down under 100 a barrel. It's at 95 a barrel also. Oil will continue to drop, but it is not going to drop back to where it was before. That's over. That's over. Too much oil infrastructure has been damaged. Again, people are rightly drawing out the fact that this isn't a done deal. It's a done deal. It is a done deal. They're just writing the details out. They are. Trump needs this to happen. He needs the Dow to continue to take off, and Iran knows it. So yeah, there isn't going to be anything major. Trump's going to get a couple face-saving concessions. Like right now, they're already like, the Strait of Hormuz is open. We did it. And everybody's pointing out it was open before you started, dumbass. It was open before you started. But yeah, there's going to be a major concession from Iran that Trump can save face to. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Trump can save face on and claim that he did this, and your dumbass drunk uncle was, oh yeah, we blew him up hard, we hit him hard, and then we destroyed their shit, and then we got this one thing, which is what we always wanted, and it's going to end up being a win for Iran in the long term, and I'll explain why here in just a minute. I'll explain in just a minute. Let's go back. Who do you want to talk about next? We talked about Bibi. Bibi, I'm telling you, and I'll give you a summation on that one, and that's it. Israel is a pariah. It is a pariah in both Europe and the United States. That stank ain't going away. There will not be a spending bill. There will not be anything that does not create massive upheaval in both Europe and the United States. They're fucked. They just are. If they don't get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu in this October's elections, I don't know how long Israel lasts. Their economy is incredibly dependent on trade. If they can't solve their Benjamin Netanyahu problem this October, this may actually be we'll go back and we'll talk in 2 years or 5 years. Or, well, this is when it started. We'll go back to this. But yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's smiling ear to ear this morning. He think, oh yeah, I got what I wanted. I manipulated Trump, that idiot Trump, into sidelining Iran while I took Lebanon. I got what I wanted. Yay! All the hardliners in my country are super happy because they wanted that border to be, in southern Lebanon, at the river in southern Lebanon that we talked about before in prior shows. No, you fucked up, BB. You did. All right, who do you want to talk about next? Putin. Putin's happy as a pig in shit. He is. And this is one of the reasons that Europe is absolutely furious about us. Absolutely furious about us. Putin was on the edge of collapse. His economy was on the edge of collapse. It was. I mean, interest rates are sky high. We've talked about that in previous shows. I brought up, interest rates from various banks in Russia. Just incredibly high interest rates. Their currency was collapsed. They were on the edge, man. They were on the edge. Then the oil sanctions were gone. Because, yeah, that's one of the big things to come out of Operation Epic Failure. Russia's oil sanctions are gone. He's selling oil as fast as he possibly can. That's just the thing now. Now, is it going to flood the markets? Is it going to bring prices down for you and me? No. They're going to. I believe it'll settle around 80 to 85 is where it's going to settle, which means gas will still be more expensive here. We will still have inflation from increased energy costs here. But Russia will be selling. He'll be making bank off those higher oil prices. Putin's happy as a pig and shit. He gets to continue his war in Ukraine. European nations keep having to dump money into this war in Ukraine that they're sick of. The people of Ukraine are sick of that war. Everybody's sick of that war. But, Putin, he gets his way. That is a big component of Operation Epic Failure. Is we just injected massive amounts of currency into Russia. And, they're a gas station with a military, man. That's what they are. That is what is on the other side of Operation Epic Failure, as far as Putin's concerned. And his relationship with Iran has never been better. So his influence in the Middle East grows with Iran's influence. And good Lord, did Iran's influence increase. God, I hope your coffee is as good as mine. All right, let's talk about Xi. He's the big winner. Nobody's talking about him. But Xi is the big winner out of all of this. He is the big winner. He's going to get oil cheaper than most places, most other countries. He's got good relations with Russia. He's already buying their oil on the cheap. Now he's got great relations with Iran. They were the grown-ups in the room through the whole thing. Their relationships are improved now with Jordan. Their relationships improved with Iran. Their relationship is improved with Syria. Their relationships improved with Europe, with Canada, She is the biggest winner in all of this. And get this, he did nothing. You can point to absolutely nothing that China did in this entire last month. They did nothing. And they are walking out of this smelling like roses just for being the grown-ups in the room. They have improved relations with India. They have, I mean, they didn't spend a penny. Nothing. We spent $1 billion a day. They spent nothing. Operation Epic Failure. Operation Epic Failure. But yeah, that's that's just one of the insane parts of all of this. Is just how badly, because look, business is war. It is. You ask any, business is war. We just got kicked in the cooter. Our influence went to shit after this idiocy. Between the tariff idiocy and then this destabilizing the global economy for nothing. And the entire world is, this is not the American, they're not the American media. No, foreign press isn't saying, well, Trump, Trump's negotiating peace. Trump got something that he wanted and got none of that's happening in global media. The stories are running in Paris from Paris to Moscow. I mean, London to Moscow are Trump's a fucking idiot. And again, who benefits from that? Everybody still hates Putin, but they love Xi. They absolutely love Xi. I'm telling you, that is the one that's not going to get talked about enough. That over the next decade, when we have to clean this mess up, that's going to be the steepest hill to climb. It just is. When we're trying to repair trade relations, when we're trying to rebuild our relationships, when we get a decent, sane president, after the midterms, when we take Congress back and that is going to be the steepest hill to climb, is that people are going to look at us and they're going to look at China and they're going to say, okay, we can't invest that much in the United States because we can't trust them. Sure, this guy might be great, but in 4 years, they might elect a fucking J.D. Vance. That's going to be a stank that's going to be stuck to us for a very, very long time. So, yeah, Xi is looking great. But one second. The real winner in all of this, and I know it probably doesn't feel like a win for him right now because, like I said, he lost several members of his immediate family. The real winner of this is Ayatollah Mustafa Khomeini. And we're going to break the numbers down. I'm going to explain why. His dad was killed. His wife was killed. His son was killed. None of this is going to feel good to him. But yeah, this changes. Operation Epic Failure has changed Iran's path. They have an opportunity. And like I said, unless they just completely fuck this up, in the coming year, they have an opportunity right now to change the arc of Iran. Because when this started, Iran was the pariah. Iran was sanctioned by Europe, was sanctioned by us. They were, we were using the goodwill that we had culminated to put pressure on Iran to stop funding groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, and they were a pariah. They've got an opportunity going forward to absolutely change the arc of their nation, to walk out of this actually looking like the good guys. And financially, they are already walking out of this smelling like a rose. Let me read some of your comments and we'll get to Iran. Wolf Mom, welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. Gamer, welcome. Glad to see it. 1 month membership. I'm glad to see it. Mike Daly, the Dim. Good morning, brother. While I'm sad the Dim lost in Georgia special election, Marjorie Trader Green seat. That's one hell of a shift in the blue direction. Amen. It is. It is. Rich Lawton, thank you for being so generous, Rich. There are gifted memberships to be had out there, folks. Free memberships that you do not have to pay for. George Leinenweber, thank you for being here, brother. Welcome. Welcome. Glad to see new people in the community. Connie, welcome. Connie Douglas, welcome. George, thank you for the support, brother. I really appreciate you. Oregon Wine Lady. Meanwhile, CIA World Factbook, trusted source of knowledge about nations, shuttered by Trump administration, win some, lose more under the Trump regime. I did not hear that they had done that. Have they? The CIA Factbook used to be a really good source of information. They would give you basic information about economics and the political background. You could just Google it. It was there at your fingertips. If you had any curiosity about any nation in anything that was going on, something hit the news, you could go to the seat. I am heartbroken to see that they've taken that down. Jordan B. Miller, I'm a purist. I will only vote Democrat. Well, there you go, brother. That's the kind of purist we need right now. Dominique, music lover. It needs to be illegal for politicians to switch political parties right after winning an election. That's a true definition of voter fraud or scamming. That one would be difficult to codify into law, to say the least. Tube Kurt, with victories like I agree with the sentiment 100%. I agree with the sentiment, but we just need to be better about vetting. We've got to be more politically involved. We do. I encourage everybody to vote Democrat, but when the primaries come up, know who you're supporting. Know who we're getting on that ballot. Tube Kurt, with victories like this, it's not hard to grasp how he bankrupted casinos. Amen, brother. Amen. George Leinenweber, tacos clucking loud this morning. He is trying to claim this is a victory. It is a freaking nightmare. There's no way to spin this. This is not a loss. Omniscient Sphinx, it looks like Israel didn't get the memo. Yeah, that's going to take a while, but nothing they can do. Trump's out. Nothing they can do. Rock and Ron, thank you for being here, brother. Ellen Glover, welcome. 5 p.m. somewhere. Taco Tuesday followed by fall on your face falafel. That's funny. That is funny. Lori Dex, an 80-year-old with his voicemail not set up. No way. Grace Gilbert, the astronaut gave new meaning to mic drop. What my first thought was? That they're using burner phones. Yeah, because they don't want to hand over their documentation. When Trump leaves office, we're going to find out they were using burner phones and they haven't maintained any of their records. This is going to go down in the history books as the most corrupt administration ever. ever. I'm going to say Mary McCunis. Welcome. Thank you for gifting the memberships. Thank you. That was very generous of you. George Leinenweber, Schadenfreude on JD Vance. Yep. Amen, brother. And Anna Wachowski. Whew. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Anna Wachowski, happy to be here. I'm happy to be here right now, too. Thank you. Proud Texas with Sean Harris, 30-plus point swing towards Democrats. Yeah. Janine, very gracious of you. Very gracious. 5 p.m. somewhere. Shame Trump's dad didn't understand pulling out. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? Mike Daly, the Dim. I'm concerned that Iran may now be getting money for traffic in the Strait of Hormuz that they weren't getting before. This is the 30. That is a fact. That is happening. We're going to talk about the economics of it. That is actually happening. Even Trump concedes that. Trump's trying to claim that, and this is where it's probably going to see some corruption coming out of this. Trump is claiming that he's part of that deal, that he's going to get something out of this. But yeah, even he's conceding Iran now. It's Oman and Iran. We'll talk about it here in just a second. We'll talk about it here. Army guy, welcome. What about that war criminal Vladimir Putin? Yeah, that's what we were just talking about him, man. We were just talking about him. Iron Dome is now a tinfoil yarmulke. Mike Dato, I'm praying that Trump's F-up cost Bibi the election. I hope so. I really, I don't hate Israel. I don't, because there are people in Israel, just like there are people here in the United States. Saying you hate Israel is kind of like saying you hate the United States because of Trump. I don't hate Israel. I don't. I think that they have a fucked up majority. And they have got to, for their own survival, and they may not survive, solve their radical right problem. There are way too many people in the nation of Israel that believe that we're God's chosen people bullshit. Yeah, there's no magic sky wizard that anointed you on your head. Get the fuck over it. You're just another country. Ottawa, the market in 2 weeks. The markets are going to be interesting for a while. They are. Kathy Fisher, thank you for the huge support. I appreciate you coming out with the big guns, man. That is a lot of money. I appreciate you. Mr. Knutson, out of the market in 2 weeks when war is back on the menu or some crazy stuff. I'll stick my neck up. I give it 3 days. 3 days, and Trump's done something horrific somewhere, and we're not even talking about Iran anymore. 3 days. Probably Cuba. 3 days, and Trump's done something freaking horrific, and we're not even talking about this anymore. George Leinenweber, thank you, brother. Thank you. Michael Antonchu, very generous of you, sir. Kyra, good to see you, Kyra. Thank you for always being here. 5 p.m. somewhere. I'll get into crypto and day trading once my mom lets me move back into her basement. Telling you. Amy, good to see you. Sean Harris, 30-plus points. Yep. Glenn Kaneko gifted 10 Texas Ball memberships. Thank you, brother. They're very generous. Thank you, Glenn, for always being there, and thank you for supporting the community that way. George Leinenweber, Democratic candidates coming up. I always say that. Hell are excited. Me too. I'm really excited. We're coming into 6 months is the window, and you're in election season. We're coming up on that, and I'm actually really excited. I mean, folks, look at what's going on in the Texas 30. I'm going to pause for a second. Look what's going on in the Texas 33rd district. You got Colin Allred against Julie Johnson. There is no way to lose in that election. These are two great candidates that will be great Congress people. The heartbreak, the only loss is that we got to choose between them. There can only be one of them. These are out fucking standing people. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this general election. We've got a lot of really good people coming up on the ballot. A lot of young people too. Hollister. If I didn't know better, I would ask more questions about why this entire war benefited Putin and Iran more than anyone else. It's almost like someone knew that would happen. Yep. Kismar, holy shit, this is all exhausting. Tell me about it, brother. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Jordan B. Miller, the U.S. won more debt. Yep. Lost lives and treasure. We have to elect Democrats in November. Couple more and we're going to get back to work. Promise. Juan Cortez, stick with me, folks. Stick with me. Couple more and we're going to get back to work. Juan Cortez, my girlfriend has been all over Italy for the last 3 weeks, and she said they absolutely hate Trump here. That is all over the world. All over the world. We actually, I had a thing. It's in my gallery somewhere. Maybe I'll dig it up when we got more time. There was it was in Austria, I think it was, a cafe in Austria. You know how they've got the little chalkboard signs, the little A signs that are outside cafes. There was one in Austria. No Americans, no Israelis allowed. That's a thing, folks. That is the thing. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. That is not a good thing, but it is a thing. Mr. Knutson, the USA has improved relations with Hungary if Orban wins, and Russia, the puppet master who loses the American people in the free world. Yep. Russia's economy is shit. Why are there so many people that want to lick Putin's taint? What is up with that? Have some fucking pride, people. Jesus Christ. E.T., now for Cuba at VA today. Give them heck, Paul. Man, I hope it's a good visit. I hope it's a good visit, E.T. I really do. 5 p.m. somewhere. She wouldn't touch Trump with a 10-foot chopstick. No, he wouldn't. Trisha, thank you for the support. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Glad to see all the new faces. George Lionel Weber will re-up my membership, made the money chopping firewood. Want me to come down? I'll give you a hand. I appreciate you, brother. I have been out clearing brush and stuff, and I'm telling you, if I take my shirts off, I am just scratched up everywhere. Yeah. I appreciate you, brother, but I got it. I need to get my fat ass out there and work some more. I got a couple knee replacements I got to do in the future, and I've got to drop about 60 pounds. Yeah. That is hell when your doctor looks at you and says, you need 2 new knees, but you can't have them, fatty. I mean, that is hell, brother. That is hell. That is hell. I'm telling you, that is a come to Jesus moment right there. That really is. That is a come to Jesus moment. You can't have them, fatty. So let's talk about Iran. Let's talk about what they're walking out of this with. Now, you're going to hear Trump clucking, we got the uranium. Wah, wah. Because opening the strait has blown up in their face, because every time they try to brag about opening the strait, everybody reminds them, well, it was open before you started, dumbass. Because we've actually moved backwards in respect to that. Your choice, people. Do you want to talk about the uranium first, or you want to talk about opening the strait first? Which one do you want to talk about? Y'all choose. This is a community show. Y'all want to talk about opening the strait first? Or you want to talk about the uranium first? Pick one. I got 1 vote for uranium. Vote for Epstein. I'm with you on that. I am with you on that, Linda. I am with you on that. Uranium. Okay, let's talk about the uranium first. Trump is saying, and this is part of the verbal agreement that they're going to, this is the face-saving thing that they're going to get, because Iran knows Trump. Iran knows Trump. They know they're going to sit across from the table. They have to give him something that he can run out and say, I got it. I got it. And they're going to hand him all their uranium. But get this. We're going to pay to dig it up, clean it up, and take it out. Yeah. Yeah. And Iran doesn't give a shit. They really don't. Because part of the agreement is they get a UN Security Council. This is the deal. For Trump to get his win and get his uranium from Iran, Iran has to have in writing a UN Security Council declaration that Iran will not be attacked again. And I can hear the doomers. They're like, but Iran wants a nuclear weapon. Okay. You're an above average audience. You're intelligent. I'll ask you, why does Iran want a nuclear weapon? How does it serve them? And I've got some really dumb people that have come into my comments and they're like, so they could blow up Israel. Israel is blowing itself up. And they want the land. They do. Iran really wants the Levant. They really do. They want that land. Why would you use nuclear weapons? That would be fucking stupid. And nuclear weapons are incredibly expensive. That's why Russia's arsenal is useless. You have to replace the fuel, especially newer nuclear weapons. You have to replace the tritium, the hydrogen-based weapons are even more frequent than the uranium-based weapons. You have to replace that fuel or it becomes inert. Well, not inert, but it will degrade. That's the right word. It will degrade. It's really freaking expensive to maintain a weapon system that doesn't do shit for you. You can't use it as a defensive weapon because then you're using it on your own soil. You can't use it as an offensive weapon because then you immediately become an international pariah. There's a reason that we're the only people that have ever used a nuclear weapon. Do you know why we used a nuclear weapon in Japan? God's honest truth. Do you know why we used a nuclear weapon in Japan? Not saying it was a good thing. I'm just saying, do you know why? The real reason why. This is the closest answer that you're going to get, but it's only a half answer. One word, religion. I know a lot of people thought, he's going to go on a Christian tirade and this. No, it has nothing to do with our religion. It was Shintoism in Imperial Japan. They couldn't surrender. Their religion wouldn't allow it. In Imperial Japan, the emperor was a deity. And deities don't surrender, can't surrender. Not to humans. So, yeah, we dropped those nuclear bombs. They didn't even believe the first one was real. They thought it was some, again, freak of nature thing that happened. They didn't even believe the first one was real. That's why we dropped the second one. But it was to make the emperor understand you've got to do what you can't do. Because if you don't, we made them believe that we could just we didn't have the bombs to do it. We made them believe that we would just keep doing this to their cities. It was religion. We were breaking a religion. These bombs are worthless. They really are. And people are often confused too. They're like, well, if we drop those old dirty nuclear bombs that cause fallout, why is Nagasaki and Hiroshima still a city? We did not use them for full effect either. I know it was an evil thing to do. It really was an evil thing to do, but we did not use them to full effect. We detonated them high enough in the atmosphere that the fallout would be carried away. You know, like there's the jet stream that goes over the U.S. When you get high enough in the atmosphere, the wind gets very fast and it dispersed most of the fallout. That's why you could actually live in Hiroshima and Nagasaki today. But yeah, as a weapon, nuclear weapons are shit. They really are. And Russia knows it, that they don't maintain their nuclear arsenal is all but fucking useless. It is. We're the only dumbasses in the room, besides maybe the UK and France, that are actually maintaining these weapons. And they cost a fortune. So Iran is like, hey, take it. As long as I get my security guarantees from the United Nations, you can have them. Because other than that, they're worthless to us. They are. Because the entire world just learned you can't invade Iran. I mean, you could if you're willing to take the losses, but nobody's willing to take the losses. So what do they need a nuclear weapon for? We're going to pay to clean it up. We're going to haul it off. Trump's going to say, oh, that's a win. No, that's a win for Iran. That is a win for Iran. They just got us to be the force on the UN Security Council that gives them security guarantees against Israel. And I got to say, fucking kudos. That was like, hats off, man. That's some crazy hair there. That's some crazy hair. Hats off. What a move. Sorry, I don't mean to be slurping into the mic. My bad. The coffee's good this morning. So, yeah. The nuclear stuff. Now, let's talk about the Strait. It's kind of like the nuclear thing. Before Trump got involved, it was taken care of. They weren't making a weapon. We had inspectors on the ground. We had cameras that were live feeds to ensure their laboratories were under lock and key. We had inspectors on the ground that regularly walked in and said, okay, nothing's still going on. They didn't want to build a nuclear weapon. They didn't. Then Trump comes along and destroys that agreement. Same thing with the Strait of Hormuz. Before Trump got here, it was a free waterway. Yes, it's Oman and it's Oman and Iran's territorial waters, but nobody gave a shit. Nobody paid anything. Nobody paid them any mind whatsoever. Ships just went in and out as they chose. Before Trump. Now, and Trump confirms this. You get right wingers that have been arguing this like all night last night when I put the post out, Iran won this, that are trying to argue that, well, Iran always had control of the Strait. It was always their territorial waters, but they didn't have control of the Strait. They do now, because the deal that is on the table that Trump is agreeing to, Trump has said, not Paul thinks Trump said, or, Paul thinks that Trump's going to do this. Trump has said Iran will control the Strait. And Iran has told us what that means. $2 million a ship, and you must coordinate with the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, to get your ship through the Strait. So let's take a look at what that means for Iran. Now, keep in mind, before this happened, there was no revenue coming out of the Strait for Iran. Zero revenue, right? Now, there is between 100 and 140 ships a day that go through the Strait of Hormuz every single day. I'm talking even on Christmas. Every single day. Now, we're gonna do something that is a little intellectually inaccurate. I'm not going to say dishonest. I'm going to say inaccurate, because right now the fee they're saying is $2 million per vessel per day. Now that math don't math, because there are some vessels that are going to go through. For instance, oil tankers. There are 4 classes of oil tankers. The small ones, it makes no economic sense for them to pay $2 million to carry a load of oil through. But the Suezmax tankers, the biggest tankers you can get through the Suez Canal, those tankers carry 1 million barrels of oil per trip. So yeah, $2 million is, do the math. That's only $2 a barrel. That is feasible. But when you get into the Africa Max tankers and below, the math don't math. So it's not really going to be $2 million per ship. Think about another example would be a cruise line. Because if Iran does what I think they're going to do, I called this in Syria with Ahmed al-Shara. I called this in Syria, and I was right. He went on a charm offensive. He's like, okay, Syria, the beautiful historic Syria, come visit. He is working on a country that you want to go visit. If Iran does what I think Iran is going to do in this situation, because again, the UN Security Council, there are some hints that we're getting about what Iran is going to try to do. They're going to try to ride this wave of goodwill. Y'all saw the Lego clips. Y'all saw you know what I mean? They are keenly aware of what people are doing and where sentiment is. I think they're going to try to ride that. So a cruise ship makes no sense. That math doesn't match. $2 million for a cruise ship to go through the Strait does not work. Doesn't work. $3,500 people on a ship. You do the math on that. That's something like almost $600 per person in just fees to get through that one strait before you talk about the dock, port fees and everybody else. So yeah, the numbers are going to change. They are. But for the math and with the information we have now, we're going to do the math with what we have now. Okay. $2 million per ship. That means, let's take a look here. I wrote it down. Bulk carriers, grain carriers. The average bulk carrier with the amount of tonnage they carry was like 60,000 tons. They typically carry, that works out to $35 per ton. That math works. It does. Iran will now be picking up $35 per ton on grain that goes through. You're now going to pay an Iran tax. We talked about the oil tankers already. The Suez Maxes with 1 million. The very large tankers can carry up to 2 million, and the super tankers can carry 3 million barrels. So yeah, you do average about a million barrels per tanker. $2 per barrel. That maths. It does. It works. It works. That is money that's going to pour into Iran. And container ships. Those are measured out in a 20-foot container unit, right? The size of the ship is measured in container units, and they're talking about a 20-foot container. So the 40-foot containers you're kind of used to looking at, that's actually 2 units. When you divide it out by the average number of units that container ships can carry, you're talking about adding $165 to $200 Iran tax onto each container. That works. That you would be amazed at how much they shove into one of those containers. That math works. It does. So yeah, what are we talking about? What does this mean for Iran? What has Operation Epic Failure meant for Iran? And this is the part that just blows my mind. If you listen to MAGA, they're saying we won this because we destroyed their navy, we destroyed their air force, we destroyed their shit didn't cost shit. They don't have our navy. They never had aircraft that cost what our aircraft cost. No. So yeah, you destroyed their navy, you destroyed their air force. Cool. But what is Iran looking at? All right. Wild guess without Googling. How much a year on average do you think Iran brings in oil revenue per year? I'm talking about all their oil revenue in a year. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Y'all throw your guess out there. It's in the billions. What do you think they bring in every year? Don't Google it. Don't cheat. Just guess. This is an accurate guess. Higher. I'll give you one more hint. When oil was dirt cheap at its lowest point, when we were panicking about the collapse of, there it is. That's the upper window right there. Weird Idaho Liberal. There you go. It ranges based on oil price, of course. When it was impossibly low, unsustainably low, they brought in about $36 billion. Normally, they bring in $45, $50 billion a year. And that's oil. And everybody thinks about oil as, Jed Clampett money. That's their longest green. That is a lot of money. So yeah, it is. It's a lot of money. $50 billion a year. That's a lot of money. Just a little side note, that just went up because oil prices are not going to go back down to $50 a barrel, $60 a barrel. No, they're going to hang around 80, 85, which means the Middle Eastern baskets, that are more expensive than the West Texas Intermediate are going to be even more than that. So their oil revenues just went up 10 to 20%. So now they're looking at $50 to $60 billion a year in oil revenues, right? I'd say that's a win. I would say that's a win. Their oil revenues just went up 10 to 20%, right? How much do you think they're going to make off of controlling the Strait of Hormuz compared to their oil? What do you think their annual revenues will be, all things being as they are today? And somebody just went to their calculator. I knew it. I can hear you. Just a wild guess. You know, their oil revenues were looking at the $50 billion mark. If you math the math, there's between 100 and 138 ships a day. Let's say 100 for easy math. That's $1 billion every 5 days. That's $200 million per day. That's $1 billion every 5 days. $73 billion per year. More than they make off of oil. I would say Iran won Operation Epic failure. You think Benjamin Netanyahu looks like a winner now? Israel look like a winner now? So you've got Israel, a country of, like 10 million people. Their GDP is about $500 billion, about $500 billion. Iran is a country of 90 million people. Their GDP just went up 10 to 20% on the oil alone. Now they're going to bring in more revenue just taxing ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to eliminate the money that they spend on nuclear bullshit because they're getting guarantees in this that they can still enrich. So yeah, they're still going to build their nuclear power plants. They're just not going to buy them from GE. They're going to buy them from Russia. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at this, and every way you slice it, Iran won bigly. Stole it, man. I stole it. I saw it in the comment. I told you, I read your comments. Iran won bigly. Now they're going to get a nice new military, nice new Navy, nice new aircraft. They're probably going to buy from China or Russia. Yeah. Yeah. They're going to recoup their losses almost immediately. Almost immediately, because they didn't spend $1 billion a day on this. They were throwing cheap ass drones at us and winning. Yeah. They're like, we're like, your drunk uncle's like, ooh, we blew up some bridges. Yeah, they're getting new ones. And their economy is going to be freaking great because they're going to have that post-war economy. where they're hiring people to build bridges, where they actually have to import labor, because Iran is not just Persian. It's not. I mean, there are like 6 major, different ethnic groups in Iran. They don't mind immigration for labor. They just don't. They just don't. So yeah, they're going to hammer it out over the next few days. They're going to hammer it out over the next few days. They're going to have peace talks in Pakistan. This article is a little bit inaccurate, but it does point out the fact that the agreement that they have on the table still allows them to enrich. They still have the technology. They still have the technology. If they want to pick up and start enriching for a nuclear weapon, they can pick up exactly where they left off today. All they have to do is buy and build some equipment, and they're right back in business. I do think it's a little inaccurate. That's a bit of it fear mongering. Iran does not want a nuclear weapon. They don't. They think they need one because of Israel. Because Israel keeps violating their borders, and the whole point of the whole proxy war thing is so that you don't have to fight. We in Russia do the same thing. We fight proxy wars through groups. We fund one group, they fund another group, and they fight each other. And us and Russia don't fight each other as a result. China does the same thing to a much lesser extent. China doesn't get its hands dirty in these proxy war things like we do. But yeah, it's just and the American press are really trying to spin this. They really are. I had to go to British press. I had to go to the BBC. And by the way, thank you, folks. I mean, y'all pay for this. Y'all pay for this. BBC is a paywall on almost every one of their articles, and it's great journalism. Y'all pay for my annual subscription to the BBC, and I'm truly grateful. That's when I say the words, "I can't do this without you," I mean it. I mean it. I mean, I don't know about you, but without that support, I've got over $1,000 a year in just journalism that I pay for. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that without you. I just couldn't. I'm truly grateful for you to allow me to do this. I really am. I am truly grateful for you to allow me to do this. But yeah, the corporate media here is trying to spin this, trying to let Trump save face. And it's just, international journalism is not. That was one of the kindest articles I saw is, Trump gets to take the L and leave. And they're already, I'm telling you, everybody is around the world outside of American corporate media has already pivoted to this. You remember the coverage of Gaza? This is the new that. Everybody is looking at what's going on in Lebanon. And rightfully so, because I'm telling you, this is not going to go the way Netanyahu thought it was. It's just not. There's so many. Let's go to the map. Let's go to the map real quick. And get rid of the topography so that we can see the borders easier. Let's go to the map. All right, this is Lebanon. Israel is claiming this part of Lebanon now. They're not going to give it back. They aren't. They just grabbed this land from about Tyre South, pardon me. They're going They're going to claim this land. They're bombing as far north as Beirut. They're claiming this is the new territory that they get to just willy-nilly attack Hezbollah or anybody. They could just wage war in this territory and it's okay. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No one has an appetite for this. No one has an appetite for this. This is not accepted in Europe. It's not accepted among the American population. Nobody's cool with them just grabbing this territory down here and moving their border north. Nobody is okay with this at all. But let's take a look around the region. Syria. Ahmed al-Shara has been working very hard. He's been using us. Again, us. We're doing the dirty work. We're doing the dirty work. We're the ones that are going after these extremist groups inside Syria. Yeah, us. We have bases all over eastern Syria. And we are attacking the extremist groups for Ahmed al-Shara to keep his government stable. That's really happening right now. That is really happening. That is all useless and gone now, because it's not just going to be the edge of the extremist groups. They're going to get a lot more support from the general population in Syria who fucking hate Israel. They're not okay with Israel moving into Lebanon. They're still pissed about the Golan Heights. They're still pissed about all of that. This is not going to be something that they just, okay. No. Ahmed al-Shara now has a problem on his hands because of Benjamin Netanyahu. That moderate government that he was trying to build, that brings him into the global community, that all of that's going away. The people of Syria, no. So all of the treasure, all of the troops that we have on the ground in Syria, all of the aircraft and weapons and munitions that we have spent fighting these extremist groups, Israel just now shifted the general population support to and undid all the work that we've done to help Ahmed al-Shara. That's over. Turkey to the north of Syria, same thing. You know, there are economic conditions in Turkey that are challenging to Erdogan. In those situations, you use religion, you use nationalism, you use all of those tools. You know, this isn't a new recipe book written for each country. They all do the same shit. Well, that nationalism and that religious part of it is now challenged. The people of Turkey are not going to be cool with what Iran is doing. They're going to be angry. Same thing with Jordan. Most people don't know this. The ruling class in Jordan comes from the old Hashemites that we talked about. I think we talked about this in a previous show. The Hashemite kingdoms here in Saudi Arabia before the House of Saud took control of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia became Saudi Arabia. There were Hashemite tribes, you know, that owned and controlled this area. They were driven out. Those are the same people that rule Jordan now. They're not the majority in Jordan. There are more Palestinians in Jordan than there are people that are Hashemite descendants. How do you think they feel about Lebanon becoming the new Palestine after just watching what happened to Gaza, what's happening in the West Bank? I'm telling you, this is a real problem in Jordan. I mean, King Abdullah, just to remind you who King Abdullah is. Very likable fellow, very adept diplomat. This is King Abdullah of Jordan. He's got a real problem on his hands. I mean, people like to talk about Israel and the Palestinians, and before Benjamin Netanyahu went all psychopath and absolutely destroyed all of Gaza and, has just been committing war crime after war crime after war crime against the Palestinians. Before that era, this man was actually harder on his Palestinian population than Israel was on theirs. I mean, they no joke about it. They were brutal. And the Palestinian camps in Jordan were horrific places. You just didn't, because everybody diplomatically wanted Jordan on their side, and because King Abdullah is very charming, you just didn't see it on our news media. Let me just remind people. I think we've talked about this in a prior show. Just let me. This is not Egypt, south of Israel. This is not Gaza. This is not the West Bank. This is Jordan. This massive hovel refugee camp, this is a Palestinian camp in Jordan. Yeah, Jordan has a real problem on its hands now. This is not going to work out the way they think it's going to work. This whole Lebanese thing. I mean, I can go country to country to country to country to explain why the new focus being on Lebanon is going to be a problem for everybody. But you're getting the idea, right? I mean, you're getting what I'm laying down, right? Iraq, same thing. Same thing. Saudi Arabia, especially. Saudi Arabia, everybody thinks, well, MDS and the House of Saud, untoppable. They're toppleable. They've got a death grip control on Saudi Arabia and this and that. You have to remember the amount of extremism in Saudi Arabia. You do. You have to remember this is Osama bin Laden. Came out of some of the most radical, the 9/11 hijackers that flew their planes into the World Trade Center. Those were Saudis. 19 of them were Saudi. Some of the most aggressive extremism in all of Islam is dead center in Saudi Arabia. And if MBS is seen as licking Netanyahu's taint. Thank you. I love you people so much. 15 out of the 19 hijackers were Saudi. There you go. Wahhabism. Yeah. That's a big freaking deal, people. It is a big freaking deal. You know what? One more side note. I'm going to put a pause on this and put one more interesting factoid for you. People don't realize this. They when you think terrorism, everybody's like, ooh, Iran. No, that is not. Saudi Arabia and this spot right here, this region right here, are the two largest producers of extremist fighters in the world. This is why you remember the consulate in Benghazi? You remember Benghazi? Do you know why that ambassador was there? He chose to undertake that mission is they were trying to figure out why so many people from this region were showing up on battlefields all over the Middle East, all over Iraq. This region around Benghazi and north, this entire region in Libya and the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia, these are the two epicenters for creating violent terrorists, not Iran. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't love Iran. I don't. I really have problems with it. But yeah, this is going to look very different in the coming weeks. And it does not look good for Israel at all. It just doesn't. But yeah, folks, we're gonna have to sit and we're gonna have to watch. We're gonna have to see what actually gets put on paper. We're gonna have to see what actually gets put on paper. We cannot take our foot off the brakes. We have got to keep banging away so that we can just keep those momentum going into the midterms. Now, look, this is what we're facing here. This is what we're facing. So far, it hasn't been election season. It just hasn't. It's just been Trump trying to hang on for dear life season. It hasn't been election season. When we cross that 6-month threshold, you're going to hear about nothing but guns. They're going to run home to mama. It's going to be bigotry and guns. That shit didn't go away. They're going to run home to mama and they're going to find something new. It won't be Riley Gaines and her 5th place tie with a transgender person, but they will find something. You're going to see stupid bills put up in places like Ohio and anywhere that the Republicans can put them up. They're going to be, your dog can buy a gun without a license. I mean, it's just going to be just stupid shit like that. It is. It's going to be, your doctor doesn't have to be surprised by a transgender person because, you know, that happens. They just walk in there and they like, I'm a man. And then your doctor's just good Christian doctor's just traumatized by that penis. You're going to see really stupid shit. Abortion. You're going to see new, crazy, fucking stupid shit on abortion because we're 6 months from an election. They've lost the immigration debate, so they're going to go hard and heavy, man. Right now, there are Republican law firms that are culling through the blotters, the crime, you know, in every region, trying to find any crime committed by an immigrant anywhere. They've got to rehabilitate that whole immigration department. They just do. Now, what's going on with like farmers and rural agriculture and stuff like, yes, they lost a lot of support there. They did. But things are happening. They are. Like soybeans. Remember, we weren't selling soybeans to China? Well, turns out that the countries that they were going to go buy soybeans from couldn't meet their sanitary standards. They couldn't pass the sanitary test. So China was left with a huge shortfall of soybeans trying to buy soybeans from other people. They couldn't turn around and become the United States of America overnight. Our farmers have spent, you know, our entire existence perfecting our agricultural systems. They couldn't replace us. So they had to come back to us very quietly and start buying soybeans again. So yeah, you're getting a lot of right-wing farmers that are right back where they were with the MAGA support. And on top of that, let's take a look at wheat futures right now. They should be dropping a little bit because Kansas, Nebraska, big wheat producers in there are actually starting to get some. They've been behind on rain for a while, and they're getting rain in time to actually affect the crop. So the crop should be better than what we were looking at just last week, because last week the crops were looking terrible. Yeah, wheat futures are going down, so they're expecting a bit more production as far as wheat's concerned, but not down by much. Last 5 month, 6 months, year, you see that it's been consistently. Wheat futures have been, this is your inflation. This is you're literally looking at inflation in a graph over the last year, because wheat is one of those core products that is figured into the cost of so many other products. They were really expecting this to spike as harvest will be May to June. And as those harvests came in short, they were expecting these futures to absolutely massively spike. They have not been, because they're getting some more rain. And so they're thinking the crops won't be, they were expecting the crops to be freaking horrific is what they were expecting, because right now, this is going on. Farmers can't get fertilizer. This is one of the reasons that Trump is bending over so hard and Iran is getting such a sweetheart deal, is right now there are farmers that can't get fertilizer at any price. At any price, they can't get fertilizer. So all these new crops that are going in the ground right now aren't going to get fertilized unless they can make this deal now. And fertilizer prices, don't get me wrong, fertilizer prices will still be really high. It's like when we came out of COVID, production couldn't keep up with demand, so prices skyrocketed. Well, you're going to get the same thing coming out of this Operation Epic Failure. Farmers are going to be paying just a metric fuck ton for fertilizer. They just are. They just are. Pat, I've already explained this. Go back and watch the beginning of the show. I've already explained this. The peace deal just broke out. They haven't even sat down at the table yet. So no, the troops haven't been withdrawn and all that. I'm not going to re-explain that, Pat. I love you, but go back to watch the beginning of the show. So yeah, farmers are going to, are facing shortages of fertilizer, and they're not happy, but they're not as pissed as they once were, is the message I'm giving you. On the other end of it, people are going to be really pissed because, yes, we're going to be seeing a lot more inflation after this, especially in our food budgets. It's just a thing. It's just a reality of what's going on. So we've got to stay ultra focused. We have to keep the message going in the right place. We have to keep the doomers from fucking us. We have to keep the purists from fucking us, because they're going to try to keep control of they're going to try to grab that message. They are, and we can't let it happen. We have to keep it on things like this. This just happened. This just happened. Do you remember when it came out that right-wing talking heads and influencers, guys like Tim Pool, who now works in the White House, by the way, were getting paid by Russia? Y'all remember that? turns out a bunch of these right-wing influencers, Benny Johnson and all of these people that are all over social media were getting paid by Russia. Y'all remember that story breaking? That was done through a company called Tenet Media. Tenet Media. And when that happened, the people that ran Tenet Media, they hauled ass. They left the country. They did. They hauled ass. They fled the country. They fled the country. You want to know where they were at Easter? They were posting pictures from the White House. Lauren Chin and Liam Donovan, the two people at the center of Tenet Media that were funneling Russian money, who had fled the country to avoid indictments, were posting pictures from the White House Easter event. Yeah, that's really a thing, folks. That's really a thing. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of messaging. We've talked about filling the space before. For all our new people, this audience has grown. We've got new people in here. I want to talk about filling the space one more time, just as a refresher for everybody. All you long timers, stick with me. I know you know what this is. Every human being only has a certain amount of time. I mean, think about it. You get up, you go pee, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you get your kids ready, or whatever you got to do. If you're a grandparent, you get up, you take your medicine, you make breakfast, yada yada yada. People that go to work, and you got to focus on all those. You only have a very small window in your day to consume information about things like politics and what's going on with our government. The right wingers have been really, really good at filling the space. They have been exceptionally good at understanding strategies that keep their dumb asses dumb. They fill the space with stupid shit like they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Because you got to remember, there's only so much time every individual has. There's only so much time that every individual has to take in that information. And we're talking about all that info. We're talking about watching Survivors. We're talking about, sitting down and joking with your friends and all of that space. There's only a finite amount that people have to donate or dedicate to absorbing that information. And Republicans have been extremely good. Guys like, this is what that scabby Steve Bannon does. We have been terrible on the left because you get these people that desperately want attention. The Gaza bots, they fill the space with anti-democratic messaging. And then people wonder, well, why aren't the Democrats winning elections? It's fucking you, man. It's fucking you. You've got to learn to control your messaging. You've got to learn to control the space. Right now, these same idiots that were Gaza bots before, all over social media, anything you say that's pro-Democrat, all you hear is AIPAC, 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 AIPAC. And most of them can't tell you what AIPAC stands for without Googling it. They're filling the space with that shit. We have to stay focused on filling the space with things like Laura Chin posting brazenly from the fucking White House when she was just caught red-handed, and Liam Donovan caught red-handed funneling Russian money directly into the right-wing ecosphere. Those are the kind of things that we have to fill the space with. Those are the kind of things. And I'll tell you, we have to be grabbing them from everywhere. Let me give you an example. This is Langtree, Texas. It's a place you've never heard of. Hell, it's a place most Texans have never heard of. This is Langtree, Texas. Give you an idea where it's at. Let me get rid of that. All right. This is out in the middle of nowhere, brother. Let me tell you, there is nothing here. Nothing here. But back in 1896, they had an event. And I got to tell you, it was a big freaking deal. It was a big freaking deal. It was a unsanctioned illegal boxing match between Peter Mayer and Robert Fitzsimmons. This was basically the world heavyweight fight. And that guy on the left, that's Judge Roy Bean. That's a name I'm sure you've heard of before. Judge Roy Bean. He was a Texas lawman and justice of the peace. We could do a whole show on Roy Bean. We could. Well, Judge Roy Bean, to make money, would promote things like this. They would do things like this, put on these fights. Now, this was illegal as hell to have here in the state of Texas. It was just illegal as hell. You couldn't do that. But here, Judge Roy Bean was promoting this. So what they did to get away with it was they held the fight. This is going to crack you up. Now, I tell people about this all the time. Back when they were talking about the border and the river and all the other stuff down there, I went down there and I showed people that the river ain't a river, man. It's just not. It's not what most people think of as a river. I mean, you can walk across the Rio Grande River. You can. So what they did was they went, it divides in half. They went out on a sandbar on the Mexican side of the river, and they set up this fight. Now, everybody from Langtree and all over the place, Bat Masterson, y'all, that's another name you heard. Another famous lawman. Y'all remember him from Tombstone, Arizona. Bat Masterson. He was there. That's one of the things he did. He actually promoted in the area that I'm in. He promoted some fights during the time after he couldn't be a lawman. He got older, couldn't be a lawman anymore. He got into promoting sporting events and fights and stuff like that. That's what he did. He was there. He was there for this fight in 1896. He was there. So I want you to picture this. They set this up on a sandbar in the Rio Grande River. They're having this fight, right? Well, the governor at the time, a guy named Culberson, I think I got a picture of him. There he is. He just looks like a dweeb. He's nobody you'll ever heard of. He's not a memorable guy by any way, shape, or form. He's not. He got his support from the evangelicals. He did. The purists. That's where his voting, and he was arrogant. He really was arrogant. And he really hated that old Judge Roy Bean was getting so much attention over this fight. I mean, because this fight was a big deal. And Roy Bean was highly respected. So here you have Culberson, Charles Culberson. who thinks that he is, threatened politically by Roy Bean. Then on top of it, he gets his support from the radical evangelicals that are like, you have to put a stop to this. You cannot allow this to happen. You have to stop it. Kind of the same shit we have going on today. People pandering to religion and religious people to do things that the people didn't want, because the people really wanted this to happen. They really did. So what did Culberson do? He's reached out to the Texas Rangers. And I can't stress to you what a big deal this was and how hilarious that they were holding it on a sandbar in the middle of a river. This was literally the heavyweight fight, the heavyweight title for the world fight that was going on on a sandbar in the Rio Grande River, put on by Judge Roy Bean, right? So what did Culberson do? He reached out to the Texas Rangers and said, you got to put this, you got to put a stop to this. You got to tell them they can't do this. If they want to do this, they got to move it into Mexico. This cannot be right at the border so people can come down there. The churches are raising a fit. The mayor of, Langtree is raising a fit because his votes came from the evangelicals. There's nothing out there but churches, So the mayor's raising a fit. So they sent old Bill McDonald. He is considered, in Texas history, y'all won't know about this, but there are four great Ranger captains that they talk about. If you go to the Ranger Museum, they'll tell you about all four of these Ranger captains. And they'll tell you Bill McDonald was one of them. And it's not just because of what happened here. His entire career was freaking amazing. I'm talking about murders and riots and just all kinds of. There was a Mexican insurrection that he put down. Through his entire career, the man lost one Ranger. He lost one Ranger the entire time. He is widely considered to be one of the greatest lawmen this country has ever known. He was a Texas Ranger by the name of Bill McDonald. Now, he was also the reason one of Texas's greatest sayings came into being. One riot, one Ranger. As in, one Ranger could put down any riot. And where he got that was this boxing match. Culberson sent Bill McDonald down there to put a stop to this. He didn't, by the way. He didn't. And Fitzsimmons won that match in 95 seconds. But he was sent down there. And when he got there on the train, no, he didn't ride a horse down there. He didn't. In 1896, people took trains. He got off the train and he was met by the mayor of Langtree. And he said, "Hi, I'm Bill McDonald. I'm from the Rangers." And he says, "Where's the rest of your men?" And he says, "How many men do you think you need? I've got this." And from that point on, the saying, one riot, one Ranger came into being. And that is a big thing in Texas history. It is. It is one riot, one Ranger. We love big stories. We love big talk. We love all of that. We do. And this is where it comes from, Bill McDonald. Fast forward to this. There's a statue. It's a 12-foot tall statue. And it's in Globe Life Stadium, a.k.a. Ranger Stadium, where Texas Rangers baseball team, Major League Baseball team, plays. And they have this statue. And the statue is called One Riot, One Ranger. You should take a close look at this picture. Let me blow it up just a little bit more if I can without distorting it. First of all, if you look at the statue, you can clearly tell that ain't Bill McDonald. That is not Bill McDonald, for whom the phrase one riot, one Ranger was actually coined, not Bill McDonald at all. And I want you to look at the people around this statue. All white, all white, all white. Can you tell this isn't going to be good? This statue didn't start out here. That statue did not start out there. That statue started out and spent decades upon decades in Dallas's Love Field. Used to be before they built the big airport down here in Dallas. Love Field used to be the big airport in Dallas, the largest airport in the state. And this statue stood, it's 12-foot tall bronze statue, stood in Love Field until it was removed in 2020. And it was removed because it is not a statue of Bill McDonald. It isn't. I mean, if you've been a long-time member of the show, you know that we've talked about the Daughters of the Confederacy. We've talked about how the bigots and the racists, they like to make this what they think is legitimate. They try to add legitimacy to their bigotry. They try to add legitimacy to their racism. And they do things like this. They take the very much beloved statement, one riot, one ranger, and the mythology and all of that goes around it, and they attached it to the worst fucking person you could imagine. They did. Just so here's a clearer image of that statue. Clearly not Bill McDonald. Who is it? Who is this fucking guy? He's this guy. Ranger Jay Banks. And this piece of shit is not considered one of the 4 great Ranger captains. In fact, in Ranger history, this guy has one footnote, and it's fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. This guy is a piece of shit. During integration, what he's known for is during integration, y'all remember all the images you've seen of other schools and other things where you've seen, young black students walking into integrated schools where they called in the National Guard to make it happen. And yada. Well, here in Texas, they didn't call in the National Guard. They called Jay fucking Banks. Whose side do you think Jay Banks was on? In the big showdown here in Texas, where the students were showing up to go to school in their new integrated schools, you had the exact same situation. Where you had the white bigots screaming at the black students, but the black students were very carefully protected and ushered into the school. And you had a governor there making stupid comments and all this other shit. No, that's not the way it went down here in Texas. When the students showed up here in Texas, Jay Banks told them people don't want you here. And if you try to get in that school, I will arrest you for causing a riot. That's who Jay Banks is. So the dirty bigot sons of bitches, instead of putting Bill McDonald on the statue that bears his name, one riot, one ranger, if you Google it, By the way, there were the four Ranger captains were J.A. Brooks, John Hughes, Bill McDonald, and Rogers, a guy by the name of, I don't remember his first name, guy by the name of Rogers. But if you Google One Riot, One Ranger, it takes you to this statue. And it attributes that saying to this statue. Now, they've amended it here and said it was named for Bill McDonald, a captain of Ranger Company B, who broke up an illegal boxing match in the U.S., yada, 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 the whole story I just told you. But they don't tell you until you get way down here that, wait a minute, that ain't Bill McDonald's. That's Jay Banks. And right now, you have the Texas Rangers Major League Baseball team that knows that this statue was taken down in 2020. It was taken out of Love Field in 2020. But again, this tongue-in-cheek bigotry that Trump makes okay, they took that statue out, dusted it off, and put it in the middle of Globe Life Stadium, aka Ranger Stadium. They knew it. They knew what the statue was when they dug it out. They knew the shame behind it. They knew why it was taken down. They know who that is a statue of. They know why it shouldn't be, his name should not be attributed to that statement, One Riot, One Ranger, but they did it anyways. So let's go back and take a look at that picture again. Take a look at that picture again. Let's see. A bunch of guys decided that were part of the Ranger organization, including the owner, decided to take a statue that had been taken down because it represented racism and bigotry, and it besmirched the name of the Texas Rangers. They decided to take that statue and put it in the middle of Ranger Stadium. And I'm looking at this picture. Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, that checks out. I'm looking at the palest, pinkest faces of a bunch of fucking bigots that did this shit on purpose. So, as a Texan, let me be the first one to say, fuck the Texas Rangers baseball team. Fuck that entire organization. I hope they never win a fucking game. They had the opportunity. If they wanted a statue, they could have corrected a wrong. Folks, a bronze statue doesn't cost that goddamn much to make. If they wanted a statue, they could have corrected this wrong and had Bill McDonald put on that statue. But no. They, by choice, chose the fucking bigot Jay Banks statue that has nothing to do with the statement that gives the statue its name. They did it on purpose. They did it because they're fucking Trump tank lickers that are buying into this open racism's okay now. Look at us. We're a Major League Baseball team, people, and we're putting bigot shit out in the middle of our foyer in our fucking stadium. Well, I have a response to that, and it is fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Texas Rangers. Fuck you. I'm an Astros fan from now on. Fuck you. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. But you know what? You motherfuckers will wear this forever. Forever. You will wear this. Because that's one of the things that is happening from this point forward. Is this shit is not okay. You know, in the past, we said, oh, people will just be bigots. Oh, old people. Oh, this excuse. Oh, that excuse. Fuck that. None of it is acceptable anymore. And if you do it and you do shit like this, you're out. You're fucking out. I don't do business with you. I don't associate with you. I don't fucking accept you. That is America going forward, motherfucker. Deal with it. You wanted to do this open bigotry shit. You did it. Now own the fucking consequences. Because this is a brand new day, motherfucker. This is a brand new day. So let me be clear about this one more time. Fuck you, Texas Rangers. Fuck you right up your cornhole. And that's the way I feel about it. And that's the kind of shit we need to keep filling the space with. These Trump taint licking sons of bitches think they can put that fucking bigot Jay Banks on display in an honored play. Fuck you. Fuck you. Because people don't vote to say thank you. People vote to say fuck you. And we're going to keep giving people absolute reason to look at Republicans and these Trump taint licking sons of bitches and say, fuck you. And oh, by the way, by the person that wrote me the email that said, I can't, I'm not supposed to call attention to the fact that, our MAGA men predominantly gay because every time they want to make a negative statement or an insult, they go to homoerotism. I put a video out on that and said, look, I do what's called Troll Patrol. Whenever we're going in, by the way, we're going into the roundtable discussion part of the show. Whenever I put a video out on social media, I do what's called Troll Patrol. I don't think you people should be subjected to MAGA nastiness and awfulness. I don't. And when MAGA gets upset, when Cletus gets upset, he goes to gay sex all the time. Bet you like to blow guys and shit like that. That's the kind of stuff he says. And it's like 80% of the stuff they put out is homophobic, homoerotic stuff. And I'm not that way. When I lose my temper, I get angry, but that's not where my brain goes. I mean, I'll insult you. I'll insult your wife. I'll insult your children. I'll insult your looks. I'll insult it. But I don't think about that, which made me ask the question, are MAGA men, are a lot of them like really freaking gay? Are they really, really, really hyper focused on gay sex? I would really like to know from somebody who is, a psychologist or sociologist that have studied this behavior, what draws them to that. I got an email from somebody who says, but yeah, you say taint liquor, so you can't. And this was not a right winger. This was one of us. Yeah, I read your email, but it makes no damn sense. Because taint liquor is unisex. Anybody can do that. You don't have to be gay. That's not an anti-gay homophobic slur. There's no sex assigned to it. That is your broken head that went there. Just so you know. Just so you know. I'm not throwing out homophobic slurs. I've actually been very, 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 very careful about doing anything like that because out of respect for LGBTQI plus brothers and sisters, I'm being a better person. So no, person that sent me the email, no. Cassie Lake, watching from Canada. Sad to see the U.S. is in current state of affairs. Hoping we don't get sucked down too, as we are interconnected economically. I hear you, but I think Canada is going to be okay, and we're going to be okay because we're going to do the work to fix this shit. And part of the work that we have to do is bright red line. No more accepting the broken things that are with Cletus. That puts you on the outside. Chandra Patton, thank you, Chandra, for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for your generosity all the time during the show. And I'm glad to see the new people coming in supporting the show, because the same people can't continuously keep funding this. I mean, we've got to keep growing or we're going to die, because, you folks you're so generous, but man, how long can you keep being the only people that are doing it? So glad to see all the new people coming in. Weird Idaho Liberal. Rumpty Dumpty, billionaires and Republicans and our vampires extenuating the lifeblood of our country. Yep, they are. Vampires is a good way to talk about Republicans. TKB 231, talking about the new folks. Welcome. Glad to see the new folks. I know you're not absolutely new here, but thank you for being a new supporter. My concern as a Canadian, will Trump turn his insanity towards invading Canada and use the CUSMA agreement as a national security excuse to carry out military action? I don't think so. That blew up so hard on him. I don't think he wants to touch that hot stove again, but he is going to do something over the next few days. I don't think that's it, though. I think Cuba is going to take the brunt of it. Joan Cortez, now is the time for Democrats that can't wait to drop out of races and support Democrats that will win. Yeah, especially with what's going on in California. If you cannot, look, if you can't put together a campaign that can be, get the hell out of the race. Get the hell out of the race. Crafty Ass Gardner, thank you for being so generous and supporting the community. There are free memberships to be had out there. The people of this community are so generous. They want you to have one for free. All you got to do is take it. Jaded Bunny, good to see you. Glad to see all the new members. I really am. George Leinenweber, let's start Taco Tuesday. We can all make tacos. I think we're late to that game, brother. We do Taco Tuesday around here all the time, man. That is, but yeah, by all means, everybody get yourself a Taco Tuesday. Life is better with tacos and margaritas. Add some margaritas in there. DJ Sinjin, thank you for being here. I do not believe in anti-Semitism. I am not anti-Israel. What I am is anti-Benjamin Netanyahu. Me too, brother. Me too. But I will tell you, just like here in the United States, if we don't clean this Republican shit up, we will deserve what we get. Same thing for Israel. You don't clean this right-wing extremism, Benjamin Netanyahu shit up, you're fucked, and you'll deserve it. You'll deserve it. David Spalding, extremist MAGA becomes the cause. Let me start over. Extremist MAGA becomes the cause to the fall of our domination in the Middle East. Republicans will own this for decades. The shit mess they've created there, yeah. This should be the complete marginalization of the Republican Party, completely. Melissa Grubb, don't let up on Trump Epstein files. Amen. Epstein. Kelly Inez Grotto, welcome. Brian Picha, welcome. Skeet Sayre, 2018, moved to Canada. We have free health care, and that included recovery. Y'all won't just take everybody. Yeah, you won't. God love you, but you won't. You know what? I want to put a pin in that for just a second. I'm going to come back to reading these, but I want to talk about for just a second about the Epstein files. The Republicans don't give a shit about the Epstein files. They don't want to hear about the Epstein files. They don't want to talk about the Epstein files. They don't. You know when they're going to want to? We're about to cross that 6-month threshold, and J.B. Pritzker is going to be a major candidate for president. There is a Pritzker that is not J.B. Pritzker, doesn't have anything to do with J.B. Pritzker. There is a Pritzker that is his family that is in the Epstein files. As J.B. Pritzker garners more and more, not J.B., It is not JB. JB has nothing to do with Epstein at all. He just doesn't. I've actually shown you his picture before. Hold on. Here, let me see if I can do a quick search for it in the gallery. Find that picture. Hopefully I didn't delete it. This is Thomas Pritzker. This is Thomas Pritzker. He is all over the freaking Epstein files. One second. This is Thomas Pritzker. We've talked about that before. He absolutely, and he had to step away from the company. He was the CEO of Hilton Hotels. He had to step away from the company. This guy is all over the Epstein files. As J.B. Pritzker, and this is the kind of thing that we do here. This is what I do. I prepare you for their attacks. That's part of what I consider my job to be. J.B. Pritzker has nothing to do with Epstein, but his first cousin does, and they share the same last name. So all of a sudden, a few months before the election, as J.B. Pritzker garners a lot of support, all of a sudden, they're going to start caring about the Epstein files again. They are. They're really going to start caring about the Epstein files again. I would just want you to know that is coming. Cassie Lake, now that he's done overseas, guaranteed the wannabe Orange King will turn his attention to us up in North Canada again. Greer says tariffs stay. Yeah, I hear you. I do hear you. He's going to have to do something awful. But I would be surprised if he went for a second round. That hurt his poll numbers really bad last time he did that. Tony Mason, at the rally in Hungary for Orban, JD used Putin's talking points against NATO, the EU, and Ukraine. He is Putin's meat puppet. Yeah, word for word, Kremlin talking points. Word for word. You see that nowhere in the corporate media. Nowhere in the corporate media do you see them saying, JD Vance just used the Kremlin talking points at his rally for Viktor Orban. Sierra Maid, I'm with you there. Let's get a health group going. I hear you. Skeet Sayer, the Mad King is an idiot. The Lego style Iran propaganda was so powerful it changed the narrative. I'm telling you, narratives are everything, and Iran was hot on that. I don't care what you think about Iran. Their media coming out of this conflict was top notch. Yep, Ethan, or Cuba. Yep. Skeet Sayer, a nuclear weapon is against the very religion Iran is ruled by. Islam does have a lot of rules about conflict. That's why one of the failures of 9/11 was Osama bin Laden actually sent us, per his religion, sent us a warning before they acted against us. I mean, yeah. There's a lot people don't know about Islam. Dave Barone, don't tell Kim Jong-un about the deal Iran is getting. Yeah, but he doesn't control any vital waterways like Iran does. George Lyndon Weber, thank you. Thank you. Hollister, 8109. Have you heard anything about a switch from petrodollars to euros for oil purchases? I read the other day, but haven't seen anything since. Not good if true. Actually, this is one of those clickbait things that has me just enraged, just so pissed off, because everybody is presenting this ass backwards. It's not like there's some outside. Let's put a pin in this. I want to talk about the petrodollar for a second. It is not some outside cabal that is destroying the United States by taking away the petrodollar. First of all, the petrodollar is a myth. It is a myth. There is no formal agreement to only use dollars in energy markets. That's a lie. That is a lie. It is It was something that was a myth that has actually turned into a lie, that these clickbaiters on all over Instagram, just all over Instagram, petrodollar, petrodollar, petrodollar. And they mischaracterized this so badly. So pay attention. Stick with me. Stick with me. I didn't mean to say pay attention. I meant to say stick with me here. Okay. There was an informal agreement back in the 1964, I think it was, between Kissinger and the Saudis, where they agreed for oil purchases, and they said, okay, we want these purchases in dollars. The Saudis agreed. They did not sign any agreement to say we'll only use dollars and we'll use dollars with everybody. What happened is the Saudis did this deal and they said, the dollar's really stable. We didn't lose any money on the back end. Let me explain that. If you buy commodities, you're buying globally. Okay. This isn't complicated. Stick with me. Okay. This isn't complicated. You're buying globally. Right. So if you want to buy Saudi oil from the United, and you're in the United States, or, let's pick some, let's say Brazilian oil, and you're in Portugal or just anywhere. Okay. The currency that you want to use, you want a stable currency. If you're the seller, you want a stable currency, because if you take anybody's currency, well, if that currency devalues, you've lost money on that deal because you're taking in their currency. Now, Iran, everybody's making a big deal about Iran's taking China's yuan. Yeah, that's smart on Iran's part, but it's not this whole petrodollar cabal that everybody thinks it is. Iran understands coming out of this, they're going to be buying a lot of goods and doing a lot of trading with China. The yuan is very stable right now. It is very stable. It's a smart purchase. It's a stable currency from a country you're going to be buying things from anyways. So it's good to have that currency on hand. No conversion, no any of that other stuff. When you buy stuff from China in the future, you can just hand them their own currency back. It's a smart move. The reason you're seeing more people do deals for oil and whatnot with, say, euros instead of dollars, it isn't a cabal to destroy the dollar. It isn't as it's being portrayed. That's ass backwards. It's not them screwing us. It's us screwing them and the currency traders. They're just looking for a stable currency. That's it. They're looking for a stable currency. So when those deals are done, they don't get a devaluation on the other end that actually makes them lose money on the deal. They want that currency to stay right where it is. And for decades and decades and decades and decades, we did that. We made sure the American dollar, remember the complaints about, Chinese manufacturing? It's like, oh, the dollar's so strong and they keep the yuan so weak so that, manufacturing in China is more attractive because it's cheap. That whole thing, that was us keeping our dollar strong for a reason. We fucked traders. Trump, when I say we, I mean Trump. Everybody's looking at the American dollar and they're saying that shit is going to be very unstable soon. We need to come up with a new currency to trade commodities, not just oil, gold, anything. Anything where you're doing global trades for any commodity. They're not going to be using the dollar. And it's not them fucking us by not using the dollar trying to destroy it. It's just the opposite. It's Republican policy by not taxing their donors, by creating a massive debt. They are destabilizing our dollar because that is a fact. What you have coming in the future because of Republican policy is hyperinflation and a destabilized dollar, a dollar that's losing its value. And they don't want to change that. So it's better to spin a narrative that, oh, BRICS is attacking us and trying to destabilize our dollar. No, they're not. We are. They're not trying to hurt us. We're actually hurting them. We're taking their stable currency that they use for all this, and we're destabilizing it ourselves. So they have to react. They have to say, okay, Europe, they're being the grown-ups in the room. Remember I talked about Xi and his long-term gains out of this, Operation Epic Failure. That's another one. Stability is everything in commodity trades. Everything. And what has Trump done? He's adding trillions to the debt again, demanding more defense spending, more war spending, 1.5 trillion and more, instead of balancing our books, instead of saying, you know what, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep spending on the military that way. It's bankrupting us. No, we're pulling the Soviet Union. We're doubling down. So everybody that can do math is looking at the American dollar and saying, 5 years, 8 years, the dollar begins to seriously devalue. We have to start using other currency. And that is what frustrates me so badly about this whole petrodollar conversation, is it never points out the real bad guy, which is Republicans and their trickle-down bullshit, their tax cuts for billionaires bullshit. You have the chairman of Goldman fucking Sachs saying, please raise my taxes. Please raise my taxes. Shit's going to get bad. And what he means there, when he says before the pitchforks come out, what he means there is what's going to happen to your life when the American dollar starts to massively devalue due to Republican policy. When hyperinflation hits your home, yeah, pitchforks come out. And pendulums don't tend to swing from radical like we have now to reasonable. They tend to swing all the way through to radically unreasonable on the other side. And that's my fear. That's why I'm desperately trying to elect Democrats now, so that we can start making the smart decisions. We have to cut our military spending. We do. It can't be the Cletus job bill that it is now. It can't. You just can't. We can't afford it. We will literally be shooting ourselves in both our feet. Debt is real. It is a real thing. We will get to a point where we won't be able to sell bonds at rates that we're offering now. We will have to make interest rates on bonds, the yield on bonds so freaking high that interest rates will explode here, on top of the devaluation of our currency, because we won't be able to back our currency. You're talking about Russia, hyper interest rates, devaluating currency. That's happening. And you actually have this perverted, and this is where I'll wrap it up. You actually have this perverted Republican Howard Lutnick kind of thought that's a good thing, because your bills get cheaper. Your debt gets cheaper. If you devalue your currency, you can pay your debt easier. That's suicide. That's suicide. Because then nobody wants to hold your debt. If you do that to people, nobody wants to hold your debt. That has been the strength of our dollar. That's what created the petrodollar. We always maintained a stable currency, even if it was painful, even if it meant we have to pay our debts in current dollars at our current strength. We didn't ever devalue it so that we could make our debts easier to pay. We never did that. We've always been stable. That's going away. So yeah, it's not the loss of the petrodollar. The petrodollar does not exist. There was never a formal agreement. You cannot show me a formal agreement where the petrodollar is created. There was an informal agreement between Kissinger and the Saudis liked it. They just liked doing business in the dollar. And it spread. Everybody figured it out. If we do business in dollars, the deals stay the same. We don't get any loss in conversion. We don't get any loss in, and plus we're going to buy goods from the US anyways. So it's good to have the dollars on hand. That's something that's changed also. People are looking at goods from China. People are looking at goods from other places in the world. So yeah, let's put the blame where it belongs. It's Republicans. It goes back to the 80s. Don Regan, Ronald Reagan's chief of staff, the former head of Merrill Lynch, told people openly it's better. He considered unions and paying union wages to be communism. And he told people openly, it is better to offshore jobs and lose the jobs than to keep them here and support communism. And they've been doing this for decades. And the corporate media that likes their steaks in Merlot and getting paid by these bigwigs have always sold this fucking story about trickle-down economics. That's not true. It's just not true. And you have people my age and older that buy into this myth. And that's why the whole petrodollar thing really just it enrages me. The story is always ass backwards. The bad guy's not out there. The bad guy's in the house. And it's not they're doing it to us. We're doing it to them. Commodities traders don't want this to happen. They want us to keep that dollar stable. You follow me? Hollister, appreciate you, man. It was a great question. David Spalding, North Korea has nukes. Why are we not fighting them? This war has nothing to do with nukes. Don't listen to the propaganda. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we lost it. Asborn Newton. Iran said, come at us. We just invested in 100 million flying lawnmowers. Yeah, no shit, right? Gail Bernal, off topic, but the DOJ just announced Bondi won't comply with congressional subpoena, probably because SCOTUS ruled in Bannon's favor. Another hit. Yeah. Yeah. The Republican-controlled Supreme Court is making it okay to raise your middle finger at subpoenas. They're undercutting the basic tenets of our justice system. And Republicans are okay with that. And the Republicans on the Supreme Court are okay with that because they don't have any morals. They've got no fealty to the law. It's all about Republicans and Republican power. That is why they can never have power. That's why I do this 24/7, 7 days a week. I am ride or die, baby. I am ride or die. Things like that. George Liner, Iran is the adult in the room. They have the opportunity to be. This is a massive reset for Iran. Are they now? No. Fuck no. Stupid decisions. Absolutely stupid decisions got them to where they are now. But you know what? That guy that made those stupid decisions is dead. They have an opportunity here to pull a Syria. They do. Skeet said the Mad King is Krasnov. Everything that is happening is good for Putin. Yep. Yep. Gale 3760s. Midas Touch is reporting that the ceasefire is already unraveling. New strikes on Iran and Lebanon, not from us. That's Israel. I told you, Netanyahu is going to try to do this. That's not from us. LJ Jones, gifted 10 memberships. Trump has to have this. He has to have this. 5 p.m. somewhere. Don't forget that every U.S. tollway raises their prices. The math don't math, but we all still have to pay. Yep. Me, myself, and I. Thank you for being here. Texas Paul is the best. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do. I really appreciate you. Mr. Knudsen, when will Trump start to charge for transit? Yeah, I know. He's trying to get in on that, sounds like. He's talking about the transit fees for oil. Skeet Sayre, we are living through the definition of insanity. The fear of being locked up is why we're here. What the fuck? I hear you. Tiger Butterfly, thank you for always being here. Oil refinery on Lavin Island this morning is kicking off again. The mediators are begging for ceasefire to continue so diplomacy can happen. I'm telling you, that's Israel. That's Israel. Skeet Sayre, Iran already has a deal with Canada for nuclear reactors. Kate Marylight, Iran could send Trump a solid gold statue of himself, and thanks, the fool wouldn't even see the irony in it. No, they'd just be telling people they really like me. They really like me. 5 p.m. somewhere, 150 plus schools are getting revenge. Weird Idaho liberals, somebody go back and get a shitload of dimes. No shit, right? Oh my God, that was a great movie. My Daily to them. Wow, all the Trump voters at GE and Cincinnati might rethink their vote. Skeet Sayre, does anyone with decency watch legacy media anymore? I'm telling you, journalism is important, but there are a lot of really good journalistic outlets that are not CBS, ABC, and NBC. Gail Brownell, seeing reports strike on Iranian oil refinery on Lavin Island today. Mr. Global Post is straight is closed again. We'll see. We'll see. I should say Trump needs this. I said Iran needs this. Trump needs this. Jenny 24, Trump is so good at creating problems, which he can then solve. Now Iran has more money to finance Hezbollah, Hamas, plus other Shiite terrorists. David Spalding, this defeat will change the geopolitical power of the Middle East. USA is no longer the iron fist of the world police force anymore. Yep. 5 p.m. somewhere. Common sense and decency always runs into the brick walls of Torah, Bible, and Quran. Mr. Knudsen, Mafia HQ, egg rolls, and Russian money. 5 p.m. somewhere. I'm only planting blue seeds this spring for the full bloom in the fall. Now Trump is back to harassing his own people. Yep. He's going to do something awful in the next 3 days. You watch. Skeet Sayre, do you know the Lone Ranger story is actually based on a black man raised by the natives? Yep. A man by the name of Bass. Yep. The Lone Ranger was black, folks. He was. Yeah. Bass Reeves. But white people were too sensitive and too fragile to have a black Lone Ranger. Yeah, never forget the Rangers outside the Uvalde School. That was Department of Public Safety. That wasn't actually. The Rangers are a pretty tough outfit. They really are. They really fucking are, man. I'm telling you. They're really good investigators, and they are a really tough outfit. They are. It's not like the Department of Public Safety. That's something totally different. That's what our state troopers are called here in Texas, the Department of Public Safety. The Rangers are totally different. Yeah, no. Spicy Jester, breaking news. AP reports the Strait of Hormuz has been closed again in response to an Israeli attack in Lebanon. So much for keeping the strait open. I'm telling you, folks, Trump has to have this. Mr. Knudsen, one bigot, endless shame. Go Astros. David A. from Yoakum. Go Astros. Is that Yoakum, Texas? LJ Jones. Thank you for being so generous. Thank you for taking care of everybody, LJ. There are free memberships for you to have. All you have to do is claim them. Claim them. Virgo Moon. Welcome. DK Walk, I know some Jewish people who are anti-Netanyahu. I know a lot of Jewish people that are anti-Netanyahu. I'm telling Midas Touch for one. Yeah. The Mycelis brothers are Jewish, by the way. And they are very anti-Netanyahu. Joan Prim, is there a chance that we can recover from Trump? And how long would it take if we can? Yes. Just like every Republican administration, but this is going to take a little longer. He's done irreparable damage to a lot of our relationships. It's going to make negotiations much more difficult because we won't have credibility going forward. They need to put the 25th Amendment on Trump. Do you want to make it easier for us? Make what happens at the midterms so overwhelmingly devastating for Republicans that the entire world looks at us and says, okay, they're serious. They're serious about this. They've changed. That is one way you can actually make this easier to clean up. Julia Simpson, I hope that we Dems I hope that we Dems thank you, Texas Paul, for all that you do for our country. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Texas Paul. Skeet Sayre, do not trust the Mad King. Israel has ended the ceasefire, but I believe he realizes he needs more boots. Trump has to have this. He just does. Carl Rossi, overtime pay, Paul. Great show, helping us to all stay on point. Yeah, I know I went long today, folks. I really did. This is a long-ass show, and I do apologize. Thanks for sticking out here. Did you hear about France? They pulled out all their gold from the U.S. Treasury and bought their own, made $15 billion more for them. Yeah, that, and they won't let us fly over their country anymore for any of this stupidity. That was one of the things, hats off to our European members of our audience. You folks help make this happen. Austria, Italy, France, everybody telling this administration, your planes cannot fly over for this stupid war is what's bringing it to an end. Skeets there. Even Richie Rich is more fiscally responsible than the Mad King and his acolytes. Yep. Jeff Schuler, do you think that the delayed meeting with Xi was a catalyst for the ceasefire? I think Trump wants his pomp and circumstances parade in China. I think the meeting with Xi was going to so highlight the differences between China and this failed administration that they were actually afraid to have that side-by-side comparison. That in Trump's mind is, I think people are genuinely afraid of putting Trump and Xi in the same room. Skeet Sayre, F me, even the fact that China is the number 2 economy in the world is USA. It is because they did not like half the population. Cut off your nose to spite your face. Silly Bebo. The people who still believe in trickle-down economics are the same people who are easily manipulated into joining MLMs. Yep. Multi-level marketing schemes is an MLM, by the way. Ethan Vinsky. Sorry, Ethan Vinsky. Thank you for being so generous. Thank you for hooking people up. Carline, if Trump don't get on the transit fees, Barron will. There's going to be some sort of grift out of this. Bluebird, yeah, catching you live. Catching you live. Just a little support for your next coffee. Thanks for the good explanation. I appreciate you people for being so generous. I really do. Ethan Vinsky, really don't know how you can keep with chat. It goes fast enough. I can't really follow. You get good after doing this for a while. You get to where you can talk, keep a straight thought, and read people's thoughts. That was the hardest part. If you watch the old shows when we first started, when I would start reading the chat, I would lose my train of thought, and then I would have to go through my tabs and reset where I was and what I was thinking. and get back and, but no, it gets easier with time, man. It really does. It just takes work. Mr. Knutson, take power and end this authoritarian movement. JD and Rump try to prop up in Europe. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Knutson, you get the last word. Thank you for sticking out so long. I realize we went almost 3 hours, and I'm truly grateful to you. Truly grateful for all the support. By the way, the Rider die pins are back in the store. Everything's available. I appreciate you. On that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night.